Hi everyone, Nina Paris here from dancetoday.fun and our Wedding Connections series where I introduce amazing vendors that you guys get to meet and get to know their stories, get to know what makes them different. And it's just, we're going to talk about things that may not be on their website, the things that are more where you can feel us and get to know us. And today we have Gustav Klotz Photography and Videography. Amazing, amazing gentleman I met at the All Dressed in White show. And of course I had to interview because his photos and his presentation kind of blew me off the charts. It was not just like some pictures here and there. It was actually you have a whole setup, Gustav, and it was
Yeah.
very impressive. So welcome today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and thanks for your kind words. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it was lovely meeting you too, and I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Now
Yes,
today we're talking about photo and video. Is that right, Gustav? You do
that's
both?
right. Yeah, we offer both services. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about how you became enchanted with the wedding industry. What got you to choose specifically weddings, and tell me a little bit about your story.
Sure. Yeah. So my story goes back quite a while. I'm not going to mention the year, but yeah, I've been doing photography since I left school, my whole adult life. I fell in love with photography. I started working in a photo lab back in the day when all the weddings were still on film. And I was actually like developing film for the professional photographers in the town that I live. Just to mention, I'm actually from South Africa. I grew up there. I've been in Canada now for nearly 2 years. My wife is Canadian. So I fell in love with photography, and every Monday back in the day, the photo malls were closed on Sundays. So the photographers on Monday morning, they will stand on the door with their bag of film, and I was standing there like waiting for this rush to come in. Yeah, and I just, like I just fell in love with the whole vibe, and the whole, especially in the old school days, there was like a handful of photographers. There's not like 1,000 photographers that we have now. Yeah, I really just fell in love with this whole process, and then from there I went on to work on the cruise ships as a photographer. That's where I met my wife. She was a dancer on the ships, like yourself, right? And she,
Yes.
yeah. And we actually just, yeah, we fell in love and we decided to get married. And yeah, we moved back to South Africa, where I was a wedding photographer for the last 18 years in South Africa. And I actually was part of the transition from film to digital and so on. And yeah, we came back about 2 years ago to find a new future here in South Africa, in Canada. Yeah.
So you're really well traveled. And can you tell me, is
Yeah.
there a difference between couples in South Africa, couples in Canada, like, or do you notice that there's like a common theme or something that couples, it doesn't matter where you are, there is something
Yeah.
similar?
So, quite honestly, people are kind of the same at the end of the day, but yes, there's obviously cultural differences, right? In South Africa, where I'm from, we had 11 official languages, like that's 11 cultures, right? So I did a lot of East Indian weddings, Zulu weddings, Xhosa weddings, Dutch weddings, English weddings, quite the cultural hot pot, right? It was amazing. And yeah, so at the end of the day, traditions differ, and there's, like especially like Asian or East Indian weddings, there's a lot of traditions that's so nice to photograph, like and also the traditional, the tribals weddings in South Africa, the Xhosa, the Zulu weddings. There's so many things happening, like you have to just be awake and aware of everything happening, but it's really cool, right? Like it's a lot of content, a lot of unique content that you can create, right? And actually, I was lucky enough to shoot a couple of weddings in Europe. My favorite one being in Toledo in Spain, which was quite amazing as well. Like for me, I think I get that rush when I can't understand the language, but you still have to follow proceedings, right? That's for me the best, right? And I loved it. Like the one in Spain, I couldn't understand. I learned a little bit of Spanish while I was on the ships, like hola, por favor, ¿cómo estás? Like those little words.
Yeah.
But then to hear people full on speaking Spanish like all around you, that was quite hard to track. But we made it. The footage or the photos was amazing. One of my favorite weddings, one of my most beautiful cities in the world, Toledo. Check it out. For
Yes.
anybody wanting to do a destination wedding, that's a good one. Yeah, and then like in America or on the cruise ships, I did a lot of weddings in Jamaica, in the Caribbean. Yeah. So
I
at the end of
love
the day,
that.
people, if people are in love and they, that's what we do. We capture and we document that emotional day. I always say a wedding is an emotional roller coaster, right? On the day, like there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of tears. So there's a lot of content, right? So yeah, same, but different.
I love that. And I do agree with you with the different cultures. I have a lot of couples where one of them is from like a Latin country and the other
Yeah,
one is Canadian or American, and they're like, "Oh, we need to learn how to dance because it's a big deal to do the first
yeah,
dance in our culture," or
yeah,
like you have to dance with mom or you're going to dance with everybody, and there's a little bit of anxiety, but these traditions are so beautiful. And even
yeah,
other cultures that hire me are like Indian weddings, and they want to do something much more like much more fancy, or Asian
yeah,
weddings, and they want the tango,
yeah,
and it's beautiful to photograph
of
those
course,
kinds
yeah,
of weddings too, right? Yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
it's also nice to add something different and special to
yeah.
the wedding. So tell
And
me, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, isn't it nice when couples do make the effort to open the dance floor with a little bit of choreography? I mean, it's a trending thing lately, like the slow dance, and then they break out in some moves, It's great. It's great for content, and it's just, a nice touch. Another thing in South Africa that we used to do that
Yeah.
I don't see Canadians do a lot is the confetti shot. So right after the ceremony, people line up and they have either rose petals or confetti or bubbles or what. And for us, that is like one of the nicest shots to get because it's like jam-packed with emotion. Not only the couples, but the crowd, everybody, right? But yeah, I found here in Canada, actually my first wedding in Canada, they did have confetti. So I thought, okay, that's yay, right? But yeah, ever since, not a single one did the confetti, right?
Right.
Funny.
I heard bubbles is a big thing, but I had another
Yeah.
vendor talk about
Yes.
lavender seeds or flowers or something like that, and
Yeah.
that was a very pretty visual, like the purple with the white, and
Yeah, it's
yeah,
beautiful. It's beautiful. And it can be environmentally friendly, right? So you can
yeah.
make it nice. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Gustav, tell us a little bit about. I see that you have an amazing blog. Everybody, you got to check Gustav's website that I'm just posting down below. He has a lot of beautiful, of course, the gallery. And there's a blog section that I found very interesting, and it has the different couples. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I love to showcase every wedding that I shoot. And a blog is just such a great way to not only mention all the service providers that was involved in the day, but you can tell a little bit of a story. A picture speaks 1,000 words, but there's always a story behind every photo, right? So I love to showcase every single wedding that I shoot, and you can go through a wedding, and that will also give you a good idea of what a wedding day photography is like, right? From the starting, the getting ready shots, right through the ceremony, ending at the reception. Yeah, it's a good way just to check out, a real wedding. It's a good way also, a little tip for the brides to be. If you want to see if a photographer knows what he's doing, just go and look at real weddings. It's always, and I'm not bad talking anybody, bad mouthing everybody, but it's easy to take 4 or 5 nice photos of a wedding and showcase it, but how does the rest of the photos look for the rest of the day, right? Like as photographers, we have constant challenges with light changing. There could be wind, there could be all kinds of things. Intoxicated guests, right? It's all things that you have to deal with on the wedding day, right? So that's a good, yeah, have a look at the blogs, like I try to post most of the photos just to get you a good feel of the day.
And what I've
Yeah.
noticed about your photos, everybody, when you go check out Gustav, is that, of course, we know photos that has a lot of people, but what I notice is that you capture shapes and architecture, and you create these different shapes in the photos. Like there was one where there was like this beautiful circle that came from the sunlight. There's another
Yeah.
one with a beautiful building that was like a hat, like it had like this wave, and it
Yeah.
framed the couple really beautifully. So tell me
Yeah.
about your creative process. How do you choose the composure? Like the photos are
Yeah.
phenomenal and they're different. There's all these shapes that I've noticed.
Of course, yeah. So if you've been doing what I've been doing for as long as I've been doing it, right, you have to challenge yourself, right? Especially every wedding is different. Like you cannot predict, even if you shoot at a venue that you've shot 1,000 of times before, every wedding is different because everything changes on the day, right? So I love to challenge myself with, I do a lot of research. I don't follow a lot of professionals' works. But the few photographers whose work I follow, their work is phenomenal. And I love listening to their lectures. And, like there's always things, right? You can always incorporate something. There's always little golden nuggets of everybody's style, right? And I'm not afraid to learn. I mean, every day we have to learn. Otherwise, we get stagnant and our work maybe start fading away, right? I don't want to be a carbon copy photographer, so I love to challenge myself to do new things, right? So yeah, but to answer you with the shapes and the things, and that every wedding's different. Like I always look for that money shot, right? And sometimes the wedding starts, and within the first hour, I'll be like, "That's the money shot," and then
Yeah.
30 minutes later, "That's the money shot." That's like you got to chase the money shot, right? Until the end of the day, because you know what? At the end of the day, at the reception, a beautiful moment could be the great grandma who's 89 years old and she decides to dance with the bride and they're both crying. That's the money shot, right? You can't let your
Yeah.
guard down. So yeah, you just gotta be aware of the environment and yeah, read the story of the day, right?
Oh, I love that. Read the story of the day and the
Yeah,
people and the environment. And I
exactly.
I agree 100%. Like I don't like to be carbon copying my dances either. I want to create a
Yeah,
unique dance for the couple. Of course, there's some moves, like you probably
yeah,
have some shots that you need to take, but
of
there's
course. Yeah,
always the story of the couple. It's like what made them special. I had a couple yesterday
yeah,
and in their dance they did a little improv where they're actually, instead of staying together the whole dance, they're breaking off and doing like
yeah,
singing to each other, and then that is such a unique thing, right? And it's
yeah.
special and it's different,
Awesome.
and I
Yeah,
love that you're saying the same thing. Not you constantly learning,
yeah.
growing. So we always like to educate our couples a little bit more about what they should prepare, or if you have any tips, give me some tips that you think, okay, if the couple knew this, they will have amazing photos, or things that you as a photographer,
Oh,
videographer have like pet peeves that you're like, okay, this needs to be told and
yeah.
educated to people so that they are, having an amazing experience.
Yeah, 100%. First thing that came to mind is especially weddings that's in the middle of summer when it's at the hottest, the warmest time of the year. A thing couples sometimes do is they don't have air conditioning, especially for the bride where you're busy with your makeup and stuff, right? Because you're in there with your bridesmaids, everyone has a hair straightener or a hair dryer or and it's warm bodies, it creates a lot of heat. If there's no aircon, the poor bride is going to be so sweaty before the ceremony starts, right? That's a small thing to think about, but I always check with my couples when I do the interview prior to the wedding is just make sure that wherever you're getting ready, besides having a beautiful open space with no clutter and all that stuff, be sure to have a cool place, something, a spot where you can really be relaxed and not start the day on the wrong foot, because that's literally kind of the first thing that's going to happen. If that is not good, like if you start sweating, you're uncomfortable, the rest of the day is going to be a challenge, unfortunately, right? So that's a small thing, but it really goes a long way. Yeah,
I've
definitely
never
that.
heard that before from another photographer, so that's a very good point.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Start, taking care of your temperature and make sure that you're
yeah,
not sweating. I mean, yeah,
yeah, or
all
a
the
well
things, also
ventilated
nerves.
place, right?
Nerves can make
Yeah,
you sweat, right? And so,
of course, of course. It's an emotional day, right? So there's a lot happening, a lot going through your head. You don't want to worry about that, but it can become a big thing, right? Like imagine, right? You're starting
yeah,
to sweat, you're uncomfortable, you're like, oh, now you have to put that wedding dress on top of all that, right? So
right.
yeah. So
Awesome. Okay, so
yeah.
number one, make sure you have air conditioning. Do you have another one?
Yes, another thing that I can say, like obviously I'm speaking for the whole of the photography slash videography community. Comfortable with your photographer, whoever you choose, make sure you guys get along, you understand each other, you have the same vision, you love the photographer's style. We're living in times now where you slap a filter on everything, and it's like woohoo, right? But make sure, right? Like trends come and trends go, right? Like I've seen it all, like from, I've been in the industry for a very long time. So make sure you like the photographer's style, and then don't don't budge on your budget, right? Like if you're gonna look back, I keep telling this story. Like when I got married, um, every year we try to look at our wedding photos, and back then there was this trending filter, right? It's like this red gradient filter that you slap in front of the lens, because it wasn't digital, it was still on film. And back then it was so cool. We look at the photos, it's like, whoa, check this, the sky is red, right? But now looking back, it's really hard to look at that picture. It looks like somebody spilled the ketchup on the wedding album, if you know what I
Oh,
mean, right? So
yeah.
yeah, so but anyway, what I'm trying to say is make sure that like you really like the style of the photographer, even if he costs a little bit more, he or she.
Mm.
Because yeah, looking back 18, 20, 50 years, after your wedding, looking back, it's the only thing you have left, right? You ate your cake, you cannot wear your dress again necessarily.
Yeah.
You outgrown your friends, people move around, life happens,
Yeah.
right? You don't have the food, the decor is no more. Everything is in your pictures or on your video. That's how you relive your wedding, right? So yeah, pay that extra few bucks and make sure you get what you want. Yeah,
Yeah, and you get some timeless photos that you can look back every
definitely.
time. Yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I always tell the couples, like, even in the first dance, I'm going to say, you're going to watch this video, and you're going to remember
Yes,
this moment. And so you want to make
exactly.
sure that you have a videographer. And even sometimes the budget might not cover both. I saw that your prices
Yeah,
were very reasonable. So everybody, please check out Gustav, and also
yeah,
check us out at the All Dressed in White like trade show, because we each have a booth.
yes,
And can you tell me, Gustav, do you give any trade show offers or anything that is at
yes,
All Dressed in White only if you're there that day? Tell us a little bit about that.
yes. Yes, so I like to include a complimentary engagement photo shoot with all my confirmed bookings from the All Dressed in White Wedding Expo, right? So how it works is when you decide that you're going to use my services and we go forth with the booking, we're going to do a creative engagement photo shoot, which I highly recommend. Besides the fact that you can use those images for your save the date or, as your guest book at your wedding, it's a great way for us to get used to each other, right? Like on the wedding day, it's going to be so smooth and easy, right? So, 99.9% of the grooms always tell me, I'm not one for photos. I don't like photos. And then I'm always like, yeah, you qualify. Because you know what? We, none of us men really like the photography business, but it's really fun. Like I always say, like the whole photo shoot situation is a little bit overrated. We're just gonna have fun, and I've got a few tricks up my sleeve to put you at ease and create some stunning moments. And yeah, the results are always great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so everybody, you got to check Gustav's booth because you're going to get this extra engagement photo shoot. I always give my couples, we do a game, they get a huge discount. Sometimes they win a boot camp for free. And I have the same objections. A lot of my grooms say, "Oh, I don't know, I'm anxious about the dance," or sometimes they like procrastinate. They don't even want to talk about the dance until like I
yeah,
hear from couples 3 weeks before their wedding and they're like, "Oh my God, we need to do something for our dance." And so
yeah.
yeah, it is a little bit crazy. And but if you book Gustav and you book us ahead of time at these shows, then you'll see that we will walk you through all those fears and you can actually have a beautiful, smooth day. Won't you agree?
100%. Yep. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Gustav. You are a wealth of knowledge. I love the tips. I loved your website. Everybody, please check Gustav out. And Gustav, can you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about your social media handle so we can find you as well on social media?
Yeah, so I use Instagram. My social media handle is Gustav Klotz, Gustav. I'm sure you're going to put it on the screen, right? And then
Yeah.
I've got a Facebook page, which is also very active, Gustav Klotz Photography. I used to do Twitter, but it's a lot of work. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, that's the one, and my website, gustavklotz.com. Yeah, just quickly, I've got another company that ties in with my weddings a little bit. It's klotzproductions.com, and that's where I post most of, or I keep my wedding videos a little bit separate. I try to separate the two, but yeah, there's some good samples of some wedding videos on that website, plusproductions.com.
As you can see, Gustav is one of those guys who has so much experience. I've had 24 years of teaching dance. We can sense it
Yeah,
from your stories of going from
yeah,
film to digital and all of your moving
yeah.
around. You're well traveled. And so I think everybody, you should check him out, book your free consultation so that you can get more information and get to know Gustav. Thank you so much for being here and
You're
giving
welcome.
us all that beautiful stories and information. And
Thank
everybody,
you.
we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and all the best for you. And thank you for what you're doing for the industry.